This June, Winnipeg audiences have had the rare chance to experience two theatrical masterpieces in repertory presented by Shakespeare in the Ruins. Set against the hauntingly beautiful backdrop of the Trappist Monastery in St. Norbert, the company has been performing Shakespeare's Macbeth alongside Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot. Two plays that couldn't be more different in tone, style, or outlook. Macbeth is a gripping tale of ambition, power, and descent into madness, while Waiting for Godot offers a stark existential meditation on time, meaning, and the human condition. One is propelled by ruthless action, the other by perpetual inaction. Both productions have captivated audiences throughout the month, selling out performances and sparking conversation. If you haven't seen them yet, there's still time. Macbeth runs until July 5th and Waiting for Godot runs until July 6th. And joining me here in the Classic 107 studio to talk about this past month and about the productions, I am joined once again by my friend Rodrigo Belfast, who is the artistic director to Shakespeare in the Ruins and is a director for Godot and the one and only Estragon himself, Corey Wojcik. Hello to you both. So great to have you here.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, Rodrigo, from what I can tell from Shakespeare in the Ruins Facebook page, this has been a season for the books. Shakespeare in the Ruins happens outside, so you are subject to the elements. Can you talk about some of the more memorable moments?
It's, usually we worry about thunder, lightning, and rain, but this year the smoke was a factor. So smoke took out 3 shows so far, which is a lot.
Yeah.
And storms, a couple of other shows. So we're on the alert. Having said that, though, we're basically sold out, right? Which is amazing. Which means the support is there and people want to come and see these shows, and the shows are working. So I'm very happy about that. So, it's tricky. If you cancel a show, you can't rebook those people because most shows are sold out. So it becomes a logistical sort of admin nightmare. Mm-hmm. But in terms of the support, we have the longest theater run in town. We run for a solid month and a few days even beyond that. So, and people are coming, and it's not the easiest place to get to. It's just, there's a commitment level, and you're outside in the elements. And people are committing and coming and enjoying the show. So it's been really special and very unique as a season in all fronts.
Yeah, and you're having to think on your feet. I saw on Facebook apparently somebody had to use their car lights to.
Oh my God! Yeah, that was Carrie, our tech
stage.
director. Yeah, I know, because that day the thunderstorm took out the power in the park. But it was not raining in the park, just around the park, which is just bonkers. She used her headlights to light the final sequences of the Scottish play, and apparently was really atmospheric and really cool and a one-of-a-kind show. So you only get that at SIR,
Yeah. So do you take in every production throughout the run? And if you do, what's the most exciting thing about seeing Godot and Macbeth from one night to the next as director and artistic director?
I think for me, the rep experiences is the breadth of talent in the cast. You see the same actors do 2 different shows. Within 24 hours. Sometimes, you see a show in the afternoon and they go and within 2 hours they change to something else. So to see how the actors are so adaptable and so expansive that way is really, for me, the pleasure of the rep experience.
Mm-hmm. Corey, I want to turn it over to you. You are Estragon to Arne McPherson's Vladimir in Beckett's Waiting for Godot. What's the summer been like for you, and are there any memorable moments or performances that you want to mention?
The summer has been, at the risk of sounding a bit, life-changing. I've been saying to people, once you do Godot, it changes you. It's just, I feel like I can do anything now because we spent so much time working on this and cracking the code that is this play. And so it's exhilarating. I feel like any other play, I'm like, I've done Godot, so this will be, even if I do another Shakespeare, I think this is harder than Shakespeare. And so in that regard, it's been fantastic. As far as we don't have any, Godot has been we haven't had any, knock on wood, any problems yet. We haven't been canceled. We haven't been rained out. There has been rain, like drizzle, which just adds to the show. Except for when you're lying on your back and it's dropping into your mouth. But other than that, I mean, it just feels like you're more involved in this existential yet beautiful show. So the weather doesn't scare me, unless, of course, it pours, or is very smoky. But like I say, knock on wood, we haven't had any problems like that.
Waiting for Godot, I have questions. I'm in my early 50s,
So do we.
50s
Yeah, so do we.
now. It is just so fascinating. It really does question the whole purpose of life and this whole idea of waiting for something that really never, ever happens. Vladimir and Estragon are bonded by their relationship underneath the tree, and yet they're still very different. Very different personalities. Estragon, you're a little bit more relaxed. At one point, you actually nod off in the play, and Vladimir,
Couple of points.
Vladimir, like he's standing, he's a little more animated. Do you think those two differences in personalities add to the conversations about these mundane things that they talk about throughout the play?
Absolutely. It's a marriage.
Yeah.
I mean, without being a marriage, it's a marriage. It's two people who have decided they're going to stay together and try to work through life. And they fight and they love each other and they make each other laugh and they make each other cry. And that's, what is that but life?
Yeah.
But I just got a text from somebody today talking about the bleakness of the show. But I'm like, well, yeah, it is, but it's also very hopeful.
Yeah.
I mean, amongst the nothingness, what do we have is the connections with each other.
Yeah.
And I find that's the thing that I glom onto every time, is how can I connect with not only Arn, but we have Tom Keenan and Liam, Gatame, and my son, he's in the show. How do we make those connections? And that's what, in a play that sort of almost is opposes objectives. As actors, we work with objectives. That's an act of futility to try to put objectives to
Or
this,
meaning.
or meaning or anything
Yeah.
like that. But there is the one through line of connection. How can I? And be it even as Corey as an actor, like, what if I tried this connection today with you, Arn? How's that going to land? And I learned something about that. And every day, this play teaches me something new about itself, but also life.
Yeah.
I get a little maybe verklempt thinking about some of the themes and what happens in the show.
It's funny you mentioned marriage, because one of the things, Estragon, he's very forgetful. I can think of my wife. Oh man, I forget.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's great. Can you talk about Pozzo and Lucky, those two characters? And one of the other things I was thinking about is, do you think that Pozzo and Lucky are sort of Beckett's writ large representation of Vladimir and Estragon? And if so, which one is Vladimir and which one represents Estragon? Do you think on a smaller scale that Pozzo and Lucky are?
I think there are mirrors there. There is a dominant and a passive, sort of energy between the two of them, which is taken to an extreme with Pozzo and Lucky, because one literally is a slave, so he really is submissive in that regard. They're very different, though. They're very, very different. There's more of an understanding and a lived-in experience between Gogo and Didi. Pozzo and Lucky feels more structured, and I think it mirrors more how the world works. Like with masters and servants, and economic systems. And there's a whole thing you can dive into, metaphors and parallels there of the oppressor and the oppressed. But it gets a little gnarly if you go down that route. But it certainly is there, and he is he's doing funny things like he has one named as a Greek philosopher, one named as a Russian philosopher, and a Vladimir Estragon, and then you have the American Lucky, and you have the Italian fascist Pozzo. So he's doing funny things with it, and the play was written after the Second World War. It gets gnarly, but it is there. But maybe if you stretch it, you could say that Gogo would mirror the the Lucky and Didi the Pozzo thing, but they're very different. The love is very different there. But what I find interesting that Tom Keenan is doing with Pozzo, which is a very hard part, he is finding a tenderness in the role, which is really hard to convey given that he's a brutal master. But because of Keenan, because of his eyes, because of his stature, because of his energy, because of him, him being in a way, quote unquote, cast against type, because Pozzo is usually a big sort of like, who's the actor who played him on Broadway?
John Goodman.
John Goodman. Usually that's the visual you get, right? He's not that, but he's still brutal. So there's shades of different elements that he's accessing there.
Mm-hmm. But also, for Estragon, those two guys are someone he admires in a way. He'd love to be Pozzo eating, because Pozzo comes in and he eats chicken and he's got
drinks
wine. He drinks wine and he's got somebody to take him around, take care of him. Oh, what a life! But also Lucky, who has employment, and somebody to take him purpose. To take care of him. So in a way, there's I guess I don't know if it's a mirror, but it's like, oh wow, look at these. Look how
There's
lucky
a
these guys
structure
are.
they have established. Gogo and Didi don't have any structure.
Yeah.
I read analysis of the play. Apparently, Lucky, according to this analysis, Lucky is the most satisfied character on the stage because he has that purpose to be.
It is. He has this 3-page monologue, which is the kind of centerpiece in the play that everybody talks about when they see the play. Or remembers it being striking, because sonically he really throws the play, askew and really turns things, because he's so quiet, and then suddenly he has this relentless monologue that it kind of sticks into your brain. So it's a tough part to play, though. My God,
the character might be the thing that we're all aspiring to be because of that. But like as an actor,
oh my God,
I wouldn't want to play that part.
Poor Liam.
You stand there, you get beaten up.
I know.
And then you got to do a 3-page monologue after you've been standing on stage for 25 minutes.
I know.
Doing nothing. Like it's that would be such a
And then he comes on, and he in the second half, and he collapses and stays down there with people on top of him for like 20 minutes, 25 minutes. It's a tough part. It's a really tough part.
There's also the character of the boy in the play who tells Vladimir Estragon that Godot is not coming tonight. Corey, you've touched on it before. Who's playing the boy, and what's it like to perform with Mackenzie on stage and see him perform also in Macbeth as Ross and one of the witches? There
is a snap moment that I have to disregard quickly, which is very hard for a dad to do, of pride. There's your kid, and he grew up. I remember taking him to a Shakespeare in the Ruins show, and he's like 6 years old. And there he is, and he's also doing this job. And so, like, I hear him because I don't see him when he comes. I hear him. I'm like, and then I was like, no, stop that. I'm because my next line doesn't really favor that kind of interpretation. So it's great, and of course, I'm proud of him, and it's great to see him out there, and that. I tried my best, actually, this is going to seem weird, to not help him because this business is tough and brutal sometimes. And so I tried my best to just make him navigate on his own, because that's a lesson you're going to have to learn, is to how to navigate that on yourself. So I believe he's come here of his own validity. So it's largely lots of pride.
Yeah, he's great.
Waiting for Godot, it's all about life and the purpose of life, but one of the things that really ties the play together and keeps it interesting and entertaining for the audience is humor. Can you talk about some of the humor in the play?
When people ask me, well, what's this show about? I say, first of all, it's quite simple. And I'm like, if you ever get confused, you're watching it, it's about two guys waiting for somebody else to come, and it's just them filling the time. That's it. That's all. And but also it's like a Laurel and Hardy show. So imagine that now, what I just said, but it's Laurel and Hardy. Done. I mean, that's what it is. So that's that kind of humor. And I think Beckett was really a big fan of those two guys, and that's from everything I read. And so there's that kind of slapsticky, clowny element to it. And it's, I mean, if you can remember being in COVID and doing the things that we did to keep ourselves entertained to give us the impression that we exist. It was the things that we like. Remember when the sourdough took off, and just all these different things that we did,
all these bits
to fill the time. This is the kind of humor that we're gonna, and I think this is why Godot now is taking off.
It's going
everywhere because we all know what it's like to be so isolated. And so we can recognize these characters because we see ourselves like, oh, yeah, I remember that. I remember when it was just me and my partner trying to keep ourselves from going insane with each other.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which I know sounds bleak, and you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to see that show. But you do because first of all, it's somebody else doing it. And second of all, it's fun. So it's hitting different audiences in different ways. Some people are like, oh, I laughed till I cried. And some people are like, I cried.
I know. It's strangely comforting, though. It really is comforting, because that was the thing that we kept talking about during COVID. Right? We're all in this together in the early days. And there's something about like the nature of time and what happens to time and how we process time when systems collapse. And the show really touches on that, like Didi's waiting for something to come and happen. And every time it doesn't happen, Didi goes, time has stopped, or something does happen. Time flows again. Night will fall, and day will come. So and we all of us have at some point said, like, God, my sense of time is so off since 2020. It shouldn't be 2025 yet. So the play really touches on that. What is left in terms of our perception of time once the world collapses? And again, Beckett wrote this in 1947. So you have an idea of Europe collapsing and the rubble. And what is left in the rubble is people standing around going, what day is this? What do we do?
What do we do now?
What is time? How do we fill the time? And the show, it really touches on that. So there's comfort in that. There's humor in that because we are relentlessly hopeful as creatures. I think we're wired to be that way, to keep it going. And those two guys are like, we just gotta find the next bit, the next bit, the next bit, okay, the next bit, because at some point it will get better. It can only get better. It should. That's and there's comfort and humor in that.
It's true.
Corey, does the play change from night to night, and like your timing with Arn, does it change? And can you talk about that?
Yes, it changes because the audience changes. Wednesday night, rock and roll. Thursday night, acoustic listening crowd. Right? It was just a different crowd, and so you adapt and you change, and that's true of every play, but particularly this one. But it changes every night because. Learn the lines and let it roll. That's kind of been the motto in my brain for Godot. And so you're like, oh, that's good. That's coming to me a little different today. I'm going to deliver it like this. So like I was talking about making the connection. So that's how it changes. The more you do the show, the more you get into it, changes and it evolves. Not in major ways, but in small little ways, which I'm sure you, as a musician, you can probably understand. There's the technician who learns the notes, but the musician plays them. Right? And so this is...
Some nights go great, some nights not so much.
Well, no, I guess so. But with this play, even when you hit a bad note, maybe it's still going to go okay. It's still going to be all right. And that's kind of also thematically what the play is about.
You've mentioned it, touched on it. Has doing a production of Waiting for Godot, has it changed your lives? Rodrigo, I'm going to start with you.
God, yeah. I'm obsessed with the play. I can't... it's the one play I've worked on, either as a director or as an actor, that I wish we could go back into rehearsals once we close next week, because I felt like we're just scratching the surface now. Like, the play needs performance, and all I could do in rehearsals was to just help the actors find some sense of comfort within themselves to tell this story, because it's so complex in the sense of, like, it's so elusive, it's so slippery as a text. And to just empower the actors to go like, it's great, that's good, yeah, keep going. And I'm so lucky that I had 5 amazing actors. But then it needs to go into performance to kind of find itself. And I wish we could go back into rehearsals to go like, what have we learned? What else can we do? Just for the pleasure of it. And I've never had that feeling before. And usually I'm like, okay, this is good. I can just let that go. And I wish we could reopen in a month from next Monday, just to kind of go like, okay, let's see where else we can go, because it is so expensive that way.
Yeah.
But also just I'm humbled by the artistry of Beckett. I'm humbled by the level of depth and also silliness that he was working with, and keeping those things balanced. I've never done a text that is so absolutely embracing of the stupid, but also the divine of human beings. And I'm changing in how humbled I am by what an artist can do with so little.
Corey, how about you?
Yes. Every line in this play encapsulates the whole thing. And there's something about there's a comfort in its bleakness.
Yeah.
In knowing that me and the most recognized person in the world share the thing of like we're all just searching for purpose, and everything else is just filling the time. Yeah. And there's something that relaxes me about that. That makes me go, okay, you know what?
It's gonna be okay.
It's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
And so I've never thought of it like that. I think there's a great amount of pressure I've been putting on myself. And this play has relieved some pressure for me. Plus, as an actor, I feel like I've been incredibly lazy as an actor previous to
I feel
this.
the same way as an artist in N level, because this is the rigor required
the
here is
technical proficiency you need to do this play and to get off book, and to know your lines. I'm like the next play that I'm doing. I'm like.
Anything.
If I say something to you and you respond back and it like follows a thread, oh my God, could you imagine? What a treat.
What a treat, I know. This is a play where nothing happens twice, right?
Yeah.
And it does repeat itself. So even rehearsals, we would jump into like, okay, what act is this? Where are we now?
Yeah.
Just to get on the same page, literally, was like a feat of focus.
I remember in rehearsal, I was doing a scene. Yeah. And I start doing the lines, and you're like, "Hang on, stop! No, that's the last act." I was like,
and you're like, wait, where are we?
Where are we? What's happening?
I know.
Yeah. So,
Do you hope that the play? Do you hope audience members will walk away from the play asking questions about their lives and the whole purpose of it?
I think we always do that in theater. We hope that it's gonna, and yeah, sure, of course, yeah. I personally do. When I get the feedback, knowing that, like I said, I got a text today about how they were like, your nonsense drove me crazy. That was what they said.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. Beckett aims for any reaction, sad, happy, frustration. That's life.
Yeah,
These are the
he
things
really
we do.
pokes at it. Yeah,
and sometimes he pokes at it pretty hard, and I think it's kind of that motto where people say, "Well, this play is going to hit you differently than it does," and it's like, well, this one, absolutely, it's going to land with you different people, and that's how it goes. So I for sure hope that people. It is a philosophical play, and it can inspire a lot of conversations in which I don't think you need to be. Some people have philosophy and they can get really, they can be really educated about it. But I don't think you need to have a large. No. I think you just need to be alive. To have this conversation, and I think that's the nice thing about this play. Because I remember the story that was originally a flop, and when it hit, the first time it was successful was when they performed to prisoners, who understood it in a different way, and so that's
very moving,
very fascinating. That.
It's design. Yeah, it really is. I mean, Beckett was a very skeptical person on many levels, and even of language itself and what language can do. As a guy who sort of survived and actually was part of the French Resistance, and nearly got caught a couple of times, and whose job was to pass on letters and information. He was literally working with the written word to save people's lives during the war. But he was so skeptical of what language could do or can do, And of course, language and how it was manipulated was a huge part of the Second World War, of any conflict. You look at how leaders nowadays use language or wield language to their purpose. It's terrifying. So he was very skeptical of it. So if you work with Shakespeare, it's a maximalist language. It's an expansive language. It's about sound and so many words put together to create a feeling. And Beckett wrote this play in French first, and then he translated, but he would say he rewrote it in English, not translated, because it's a bit different. Yeah. And he's stripping language away from as much as he can. And the play is a lot about, the word nothing comes up a lot, nothing to be done. The word nothing begins the play. Cora's line is the first line of the show. Mm-hmm. So you have this idea of stripping language away and what is left. So what I hope people get from that is that, and then you have Lucky, who just dumps on you with this huge barrage of language that's nonsensical. So I hope people sort of get a sense of what a wonderful thing it is to be confused and lost, and that's okay, because we often fear the unknown. I mean, we fear the unknown all the time. But this plays about facing the unknown and standing in the center of it and going, I can do this. I will be okay. I just have to get through this. Mm-hmm. And you need to be okay with facing the unknown. And I hope people go like, I seeing the play and experiencing it, they can go, I can do this life thing. Yeah.
Rodrigo, before I wrap things up, are tickets still available for the productions? And if so, where can people go to get tickets?
They are, for Godot especially, there are some tickets left. ShakespeareInTheRuins.com.
Yes.
Just go over there and book your ticket. And even if you want to see also Macbeth, it is officially sold out. But if you show up to the site, some people just don't show up and don't claim their tickets.
Right.
So try and show up. You're going to say something, Warwick?
No.
Yeah.
Just breathing.
You breathe in. Yeah.
I was going to say something.
What are you going to say? Please say it. He can edit it.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to talk about in rehearsal, because, this is a classical music station. Mm-hmm. In rehearsal, Roy would always, we'd be trying to do things, and Roy would say, hey, let's just sit down and play the music.
Yeah.
Which...
Play the notes on the page.
Yeah. And so I think there's a large appreciation for that, because there is music within this thing, which has a timing, like, what do we do now? Like, let's go. We can't. Why not? We're waiting for Godot.
Yeah.
And then we do that. We say that phrase so many times that when you break it, let's go. We can't. Why not? We're waiting for Godot. Like, you can do it slow, you can do it fast. It's just
it's a dance.
It's a dance. It's I don't know the proper musical phrasing in music.
Yeah, it's rhythmic.
It's rhythmic. It's an aria.
Yeah.
And
it's certainly there.
And every time it's different.
And so when we're talking about how, like, that's what I'm going to, if I ever direct a play or even as an actor, I'm going to be like, what's the music? What is the music in this thing, and how can we make it sing? And then we can get up and dance.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. It's true.
Corey and Rodrigo, this has been so great. I'm looking forward to seeing Godot on the 4th. I got tickets, finally. All the best.
I'll be there.
And have fun doing it in the sun.
I'll be there too.
With the rest of the summer. And thanks so much for taking the time to stop by and talk to me today.
Thank you.